to you, sir. You've heard this. So, hi, I'm Dixon, and I'm going to be talking about backlinks and the history of backlinks and how that can help you evaluate domains, understand domains, and some of the information that is in the secret history of a domain just on the backlink information. I'll do a lot better if I've got a beeper. Is this a beeper? Excellent. How does that work then? Okay. All right. So, why backlinks matter? They have a huge impact on website value, on domain value. If you think about Katrina, when the storm hit in New Orleans, for about 15 minutes, or however long it was, the place was destroyed. An hour or two later, the storm had gone, but the devastation remained. And I think that sort of thing happens with backlinks because they can influence and impact a brand or a website for a long time after links happen. So the history impacts the value of a domain. The link profile can also make or break a sale. A lot of people use backlink data or algorithms based on backlink data to understand whether a domain is a good or a bad purchase. So if you analyze backlink data, you can avoid lemon domains, and spot the hidden gems. And we're going to talk about some of the ways we do that. So there are, I think this top one and the bottom one are the same thing here. I allowed the AI to do something a bit stupid anyway. But there are risks when trading in domains. Obviously, you probably know them more than me. But there are, legacy penalties or spam, particularly in Google. So you may have domains that have been, penalized by Google, and if you buy that, that could be a problem. And that penalty could well be because they've bought spammy links. There could also be hidden authority that can get removed very, very quickly. So you can start to buy a domain, and the person selling it to you owns their own link network. And as soon as they remove those links, all from one network, then you lose all the value the day that you buy it. So, a quick intro to Majestic. Majestic has been crawling the web since around about 2006. It's a specialist search engine. It doesn't look at the content of web pages. It looks at the map of how all the internet links to each other, and it inverts it. So instead of seeing all the links out of a page, it goes and sees all the links into a page. And we do some interesting maths on that as well, which I'll come on to in a minute. Still one of the biggest web crawlers on the planet to this day. To give you an idea, there's around about 500 million tweets a day, or whatever, X's a day, whatever you call them now, on X. In the same sort of day, typically, there's 7,000 million URLs crawled, and they're different ones. Half of those are about different every single day for us. And so right now there's probably 22, I think, trillion URLs in the system that we understand and we can evaluate. The metrics that investors should be looking at, should be watching. The first one is trust flow and citation flow, which is Majestic's sort of proprietary metrics, and I'll explain them on another slide. It's not just the number of referring domains. I mean, there are a number of linked data sources that will tell you the number of referring domains to a website, but it's the value of those domains, and trust flow and citation flow can help you with that. At the same time, you can start looking at the link graph, and this becomes really kind of interesting, particularly with the major links. We've got the ability for you to go and have a look at a website, see the top 50 links, and then click on that and go and have a look at the next one, and you can just travel around, and you can see a story. If you're visually motivated, you can see a story of how that website has got the traction that it has today. Looking at the history is particularly valuable because you could have had links a long time back to a domain from a previous owner, from a previous incarnation, and that could be good or could be bad for your brand. You know, if it's a link from Wikipedia that's lying around, that's a very useful link for you, as long as you're going to build a website around the same context as a Wikipedia link. If, on the other hand, the links are coming from, you know, spottingscams.com, then that's probably not quite such a good link for you. So the link anchor text and the link context will help us with that. And then we have this extra metric of topical trust flow. And that is, if you've got links coming from history websites, that's going to give you a very different sort of website than if you've got links coming from pharmaceutical websites. So by understanding where the websites have influenced themselves, what topics they have influenced themselves, then we can propagate that information and give you some idea of how influential any web domain would be in any given topic. And then lastly, a lot of you have lists, so being able to compare whether it's half a dozen or whether it's 1,000, being able to very quickly put those into some kind of value or hierarchy is something that you should be able to do with the system as well. So I talked about trust flow and citation flow. Now, how many people have heard of PageRank? I'm guessing quite a lot of you have heard of Google's PageRank. Yes, good. Okay. So trust flow and citation flow are similar sorts of methodologies to PageRank. And if you use other tools that have backlink data and show the URL, a lot of them are done on how often those websites are seen in search results. That's one metric you can have for quality, one measure you can have for quality. That's fundamentally different to understanding a backlink metric, because a backlink metric has to look at the whole of the internet and do some maths. Because what it does is it goes around the internet and it says, okay, let's assume that every page on the internet is worth 1 point. Then this page has got 2 links coming out of it, so we're going to take half of that point to there, half of that point to there. This one's only got 1, so we'll take the full point to there. Less a dampening factor. And then you can then propagate this information out. If you've got 10 links, you split that out to the next one, and you do a map of the whole internet, and you get a new value for every single page on the internet, based on which ones have got links coming into them and which ones haven't. That's the fundamental idea behind PageRank and also behind citation flow. And you do that iteration again and again and again. And with PageRank, at least, after around about 13 iterations, it starts to level out and it becomes a flat number. And that's really how Google built their business. Citation flow is a similar sort of concept, similar sort of maths. And so we have this metric. Google no longer gives you PageRank, so it's one of the only metrics on the planet that is doing the similar sort of thing. Trust flow is slightly different, because what we found was we have a bunch of websites over here that we know were curated by humans, have been human reviewed. Why don't we say these ones are trusted, and then let's do the maths again, just starting there. So we end up with most of the websites out there. But if you've built a website, got no links to it or whatever, and nothing is linked from anything that's linking to anything that comes from the trusted seed set, then your citation flow will be high and your trust flow will be low. And so you start to get a different impression of quality versus quantity as well. So trust flow and citation flow are linked together, same sort of maths, but there is a bias towards websites that have human involvement on the trust flow metric. Okay. And then topical trust flow does the same sort of thing as trust flow, but it starts with all of those websites that we started with were categorized. So now we can then categorize the topics and propagate that information around the web as well. So you get some very different information to most of the tools out on the planet about a web page and about a web domain. One of the things about PageRank in particular, this was a study that was done for PageRank. Hi, Jeff. So somebody did a study at university, and they did the PageRank algorithm on Wikipedia itself. And one of the things that's interesting about this metric is you do need to have the whole internet, because if you just take a subset of the internet, like all the pages on Wikipedia, then you don't have the outside signals. So in this particular study, which is way back in 2014, I think it was, it came out doing the maths, and Carl Linus, the Swedish botanist, was more influential than Jesus or Hitler when they were doing the maths. when you used other metrics like Majestic's metrics, or Moz has a metric which you can't find very much anymore, but is around, then it was different, and Carl Linus was not quite so influential as those other two guys. So one of the interesting things about this methodology is that every link is prone to error. You could easily link to something randomly, incorrectly, or with a counter reasoning or unintuitive reasoning for a link. But at scale, the error decreases, and your confidence in using links as a quality metric increases. So the next thing is the link graph, and being able to visually see the link graph. I find very interesting, but you know, maybe you want the data in spreadsheets, and that's fine. But this is all very interactive. So if I'm checking this website in the center of the system, then out here we've got a bunch of websites that are all linking to some websites that are tightly connected to each other. So these are semantically close, obviously. These ones here are probably a link farm. So these are probably possibly one of you guys with a domain registry with all the websites linking to each other. And the thing is that if I go and buy this domain, then the question is, what's going to happen to all of these? Because if all of these can be switched off by one person in one day, then all of a sudden, all of my power and my influence that I thought I had has disappeared. So I can then go and click on these, see if they're real websites, see if they've got value, see if they're owned by the same person, see whether this is a problem or whether this is an opportunity. And similarly, we can play around with these link graphs, and it's completely interactive, but it's only playing with the top 50 domains going into every website, just because of scale, of visual scale. But it's a pretty good way of playing around with a website and seeing any domain, whether it's the kind of thing that you want. Sorry. So link graphs can really be quite different between different types of websites. So I've picked out 4 here. Well, I got somebody to pick out 4 for me because I didn't have the time. And we've got some very different pictures of link graphs. So it does make quite a difference. You know, that one on the end's mine. That's DixonJones.com, and I think that's okay. It's a bit small because I'm a bit small. It's not as big as some of these, but these things have got something unusual happening about them, and they should be investigated before you commit to buying a domain. So when you go to buying domains or selling domains, you really need to get this information really quickly. And that's one of the things that Majestic helps you do. So this screen just lets you put in five sites up at the top, and it will get you all the main metrics to compare against each other. So we can see the trust flow and citation flow. We can see the number of referring domains. We can see the number of pages on the site that we know about. And so we get we get this topical information as well. These are the top 3 most influential topic areas for these websites. But we also have this button over here which will allow you to upload 1,000 or 10,000, or I think it goes up to 100,000 URLs if you want to. So if you've got a large data set that you want to analyze, you can do that in the space of a few minutes, which can be really quite powerful. So this is kind of a layout that we use that is starting to show websites, web pages actually. So this is actually all ones related to linking to, I don't know what they are, but anyway, the Wikipedia and whitehouse.gov and stuff like that. So whitehouse.gov, we can see, is largely influential around society and a bunch of other things. And then, whereas, what have we got here? We've got different topical influences from different websites coming in. So this is the topical trust flow, and we have a value for each of those topics, which if you're buying for a particular purpose can be very helpful for you, because you can start to make sure that you don't buy something that has had a history of the adult industry, for example, unless that's what you want. So topical trust flow can be pretty powerful as a concept. Basically being, do links from sites that are like yours. They're stronger than links from sites that are not like yours. So it's more granular than, say, PageRank, It updates every day, so we're continually crawling with 7 billion URLs a day. This is a pretty dynamic system, and provides context and influence at scale, so you can start to see things pretty clearly, pretty quickly. And the more you use it, the more it becomes intuitive. The data is all at page level and site level tracking. For you guys, you're mostly going to be interested in site level tracking. But ultimately, if you want to get a link from a website, then it really matters what page you're going to get that link from. So you can also test that kind of thing as well. So if you want a link from Forbes, then it turns out that you want it in the video section, because that's higher up in their hierarchy, and all of those pages have a higher metrics, page metrics, than the end of blog posts, which are almost user-generated. We've got about 800 topics, and then we can compare all types of online data, people pages, and sites. So it's not just websites you can look at. I've used this stuff on Twitter profiles, for example, and so you can start to see how influential a person is based on their Twitter profile, based on who's linking to their Twitter profile, and that's quite useful. Probably less so now because Twitter's a bit spammy, but anyway. Great for uncovering hidden value as well. So links will allow you to spot sleeping domains with strong, clean links. So if you can go and find a list of 1,000 domains that you might want to buy, and you can find Wikipedia links to 3 of them, those are 3 really powerful links that will have an immediate impact in SEO. They'll have immediate impact in defining your website. As long as you can keep those links live after you change all the content on your website, then that can be really valuable. You can also spot off-topic links that might reduce your value. So if you're getting links that are from review sites, all with 1 star, not a good thing, you know. So you don't want to start with that that sort of your leg sort of cut off at the knee when you're trying to monetize a website. And then domains with rare high authority referring domains. Yeah, okay. So domains that have referring domains going to them that are of value are particularly useful. Anchor text is also very, very good at instantly seeing what a website is about. I've just used DixonJones.com because I don't have to worry about asking anybody whether I can use it, but you can just get anything up and see. Dixon Jones talks about leaked documents. Okay, that's interesting. Why? You know, is that of interest? And so you can see the anchor text in a cloud of all of the links that are going into a domain. That'll quickly give you an idea of the sorts of things that have been happening to that website. But it does get a lot more granular if you dig into what we call link context. So we don't just look at what pages are linking to what pages. We also see how far down the page it is. So on this side here, I don't know if it's visible because I've got dots here this close, but this green line here shows that the link to this website was placed around about 1/3 of the way down the page, and there were not a lot of other links on that page. So this is probably a highly contextually relevant link. Down here, there's a link that's slightly higher up on the page, but it's on a page that's full of links. So that means that it's probably just a directory page with just a list of links, no real added value. So this information here then starts to tell you the value of an incoming link and whether that's going to be one that, you know, a tool like Google might respect and respond to, because one that's in a context of text, if it's got words around it, that's a lot more valuable because an NLP algorithm, natural language processing algorithm, can understand the context of that link. So, due diligence. If you're a buyer, there's a lot you can do with link information for your due diligence. You can run through something like Majestic. There are other tools out there, but Majestic Site Explorer is instant, quick, and allows you to do it for any website, and you can see the headline stats. Next thing, if you're really interested, you can start to analyze a historic index. So Majestic has 2 indexes, one that covers around about 90 days, and then one that goes back, well, as I say, we've been crawling since 2006. That doesn't update quite so often, but it's a very, very powerful data set, and so you could go and see links that were there back in 2010, for example. Check the trust flow, the anchors, and the referring domains. Make sure that there's nothing there that's going to hit you in the headlines the second after you've tried to build a website on that domain. And then investigate lost backlinks. So sometimes there were backlinks that suddenly dropped all of a sudden back in 2008. And maybe that's a good time to go and have a look at the press mentions out there at that time and see if there's something that happened that was significant. And then you can assess a domain's true market value based largely on the link information on its own. Clearly, that's not the only decision you're going to make, but I think it's probably stronger than many others out there. If you're selling, you need to do a pre-flight check. A lot of buyers use Majestic data or other data based around links to establish whether a website is of value or not to them, particularly ones that are trying to build an SEO-friendly website afterwards. So pre-flight checks show that there's a clean history. If you can, then use Majestic reports to boost the buyer confidence. Give them a screenshot of the Majestic layout. Give them something to see because they've got to spend $50. They don't want to spend $50 on a Majestic account if they want to check lots and lots of domains. Show them the screenshot. Don't tell Steve downstairs that I said show you the screenshot. Highlight hidden strengths and unique links. You can maybe, when you have a conversation with them, sit there and say, look, it's got a link from Wikipedia. It's got a link from Forbes. It's got a link from the Times. These are the kind of things that will attract a buyer as long as they're going to build a website that's going to be relevant to those links. Red flags, what to avoid. Toxic link pans. You saw those bubbles of really tightly related links. These are things that I tend to look at. Sometimes they're benign. Often they're benign, but other times they're link farms. And that means that somebody controlling that link farm is selling those links, and that means that potentially those links will disappear the second that you buy the website. Irrelevant link profiles or mismatching topics. Not so much of a problem unless that topic, the mismatch is going to start sending people that are going to be very, very upset. If you've got a Christian missionary church site and you're trying to turn it into a different kind of missionary search site, then you could find that you're going to get yourself into deep water very, very quickly. And then look out for artificial backlink bumps over time as well. Takeaways. I'm going to go step back so I can make sure I can see it now. Links and their history really reveals a lot about a domain that other metrics really just can't see. You know, you can sit there and see if a website ranks on search engines, but knowing this underlying authority is not so easy to find. Referring domains or link counts, which a lot of people use, are not good values of evaluating a domain, because I'm pretty sure half the people in this room could, with a few thought processes, create 1 million links to your website from 1 million domains. It just takes a little bit of imagination, so to speak, or comment spam. So you really do want to look at the quality of that information a little deeper. Anchor text and link context further helps to evaluate a website, and including link profiling in your due diligence, I would say, is essential whether you're buying or selling a domain. Okay, so that's me. I'm Dixon Jones. Got to stand downstairs. If you pick up a QR code from downstairs, you can play with your own website for free, no credit card required. And if you've got any questions about links in general, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thanks very much. Yes? Sorry? When I was showing you the PageRank, okay, so I've got another presentation on the PageRank algorithm. It takes 40 minutes to go through it. It's got spreadsheet downloads for working documents so you can create your own mini PageRank thing. But the original PageRank algorithm started with the idea that every page was worth one page, not site. Every page on the internet was worth 1 point, and then the dampening factor was 0.15. So basically, you take 0.85 of that and spread it out between the links to the next one, and iterate that all around the web, and then carrying on doing that. And then they had to have a little tweak for pages that didn't link anyway. There was some issues with that, so they've got some tweaks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so the question is, does follow or no follow matter? And it depends on the context. So we track whether it's a follow or no follow, so you can see whether it's a no follow or no follow in the system anyway. So what I say in my opinion, if you disagree with it, you can go and find your own version. I mean, it's my so. The problem is that the nofollow was designed to be set up so that you could safely link to other websites and Google wouldn't then penalize you for linking to a site which you didn't know whether it was valuable or not valuable. There was a flaw in that process, that thought process by them, because the only people that use nofollow links are people that are paranoid, and they started to nofollow every blog comment and do it on a system-wide scale so that they couldn't get done, and they thought they'd keep all the page rank in their own websites. So it had the opposite effect, because actually people were no-following the most valuable links instead of the least valuable links. So I don't think that Google pays as much attention to no-follow and do-follow as we as SEOs think they do. I certainly, all Wikipedia links are no-followed. I certainly would say if you've got a link from Wikipedia, that is a valuable link. That is a valuable link because the search engines treat Wikipedia with a great deal of respect, and the fact that the link is no follow doesn't matter because people will go to that link anyway, and so I would call it a valuable link. So I don't pay as much attention as most people do to follow and no follow, but other people do, and it's for you to choose. Yeah. Yep. 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 So the question was, how important is a link profile to Google? And if you ask John Mueller, he'll say not very important, really. We don't use it very much more, except for discovery. But that's not entirely true. So I think that links have an impact in more ways than people would normally see. So links will provide human traffic. That's the first thing. Sometimes it's the most valuable human traffic in the world. When you get to a website, there's only two ways to get there. Typing in www.yourdomain.long, whatever, or clicking on a link. So when Google goes on one side and says, think about the user, and then you realize on the user has to click on a link to get to your website, then if they really think about the user, then links have to be important. They have to be important for marketing. I think it's absolutely true that Google have so many other metrics now that they care about, and they have tried to do their best to not be reliant on link data to a large extent. That, however, is coming back again and around. So link information is coming back around with LLM information, because when you type in what is the best conference center in London, the Business Design Center wants to go there, yeah? And so the LLMs are crawling as well on your behalf, so the citations then become important. Not necessarily the link, but the fact that the Business Design Center is listed in lists of top 10 conference centers in London is very, very important. So now you've got another whole new market out there for link builders or link source, manipulators, whatever it may be. So yes, it's less important than it used to be. I disagree to anybody that says it isn't important. I think it is important. It's important for humans, and so it has to be important for Google. Yes, sir.
Question about rebranding. If I want to rebrand to another domain name, and do you prefer to contact the people or the users that link to you and ask them to link to the new domain, or you just go straight for 301 redirect?
So the question is, if you you heard the question because he was on a microphone. Sorry. I would normally go straight for a 301 redirect because the effort in getting people that have put a link out to you 3-4 years ago, they may just say, oh, I'll just delete that page altogether. So I would go for a 301 redirect, but be very careful that you, if you can, do it on a URL by URL basis. In other words, a 404 still needs to be generated. Otherwise, Google does get a bit pissed off about that sort of thing, and you get little warnings in your Google Search Console. So I would go for a 301 redirect list. HT-Access or whatever you guys use these days. You know, I'm old, so you know I was HT-Access or something, and do it that way. If there are some really, really important links, then maybe. But as soon as you go to Wikipedia and ask, then an editor's just going to take the link off and say the reference doesn't apply anymore. So you've got as much danger as anything else. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's fair to put any up here. I mean, I'd probably go and talk to Gareth Hoyle at Marketing Signals. He's manipulates links on quite a large scale. That might be a person I'd go to. I would, yeah, I don't know. I'd probably ask a friend. but yeah, Marketing Signals would be one. There are plenty out there, SEO consultants, but give them a very fixed remit of what to do. But you should be able to do it with, you should be able to get the list anyway. So you can see all the dead links in Majestic, or the log files if you want to look at the log files, if you get to the log files of the website, and then just create that list into a spreadsheet. And then actually, if you've got WordPress, you can use a multiple URL redirect in WordPress plugin with a WordPress plugin. So actually, that's possibly as good a thing to do as any. All right. I think. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to go down and have a cup of coffee now. And thank you very much for your time. Cheers.